What's goody world? I'm back with Sabaton history. I know I haven't done one in a while. Well, we ain't gonna get into that, man. But I said, man, I gotta do this one. I just reacted to Father lyric video by Sabaton. And the subject, it interests me. They're talking about the science. It sounded like they were talking about two scientists at first, Haber-Bosch, coming together and creating the toxins. But then it kind of just turned into one person they were talking about. So I was a little confused there. You know what I mean? But I just find it interesting. I want to know, like, what was in this dude's head. Hopefully my boy Indy gonna let me know something. I just got to know, because how do you weigh the good with the bad? They did good and they also did bad. It's just like, so I got to see. Let's get into it. Let's rock. And learn me something.
Hi there, I'm Pat from Sabaton.
And I'm Indy Nidell.
And today here on Sabaton History Channel, we are premiering a brand new song.
You are hearing it here for the first time.
Father.
I heard the song already. My bad. Oh, this is the gas? This is the...
Not every legacy is easily distinguishable as good or evil. Sometimes it's more like the light of a candle. The brighter it shines, the longer it casts its shadow. The master chemist Fritz Harber's accomplishments have lifted humanity up as a whole, helping billions of people, yet also caused terrible, agonizing deaths and lifelong suffering for hundreds of thousands of others. It is a legacy seemingly caught between...
Oh, you gotta take that good with the bad. You gotta take that good with the bad. Billions to thousands, like, I wonder, as a lawyer, as a scientist, like, is it that easy for you to just hit that switch, or is it also troubling to you knowing that hundreds of thousands of people are going to die from what you create, but you're also going to help billions? Like, damn. Woo!
Ethics and science, between idolization and condemnation, between home and exile, yet also true to his own credo: in peace for mankind, in war for the fatherland. The Nobel Prize Committee of the Swedish Royal Academy announced its honorees for the years 1914 to 1919, the war years. 5 of those honored were Germans, and among them was Fritz Harber. He was awarded the 1918 Nobel Prize for Chemistry for the groundbreaking achievement of creating synthetic ammonia. Yet,
there goes that Nobel Prize. That Nobel Prize.
For the groundbreaking achievement of creating synthetic ammonia. Yet, there was a loud roar of outrage by French and British scientists who sent in notes of protest. Haber, they said, was the father of chemical warfare. And yeah, he was that too. Fritz Harber was born in Breslau, Prussia in 1868. His father was a wealthy Jewish businessman who supported early on his son's interest in chemical experiments. Haber studied organic chemistry and physics at the university in Berlin, where he graduated cum laude in 1891 and reached full professor of physical chemistry in 1906. Already then, he was making great strides with his intellect and drive, while boasting that he had never attended a single lecture on physical chemistry except for his own. But he had yet to find his niche. From gas phase chemistry to electrochemistry, his interests were not limited to a single field of research. This would change when he was confronted with what was considered a classic problem, the Malthusian trap, which holds that growth on our planet had a limit, since people multiply exponentially and resources arithmetically, and that the Earth's soil could only feed and sustain a certain number of people. Chemistry and the production of potent fertilizers challenged the Malthusian nightmare. But the question of how to artificially replenish agricultural soil with nitrogen that in turn could be metabolized by plants remained unsolved. For the ambitious Haber, this problem presented the perfect opportunity to leave his mark on the scientific world. The scientists before him had provided theories that the fixation of hydrogen and nitrogen out of the air was indeed possible, yet no one had found the correct amount of pressure, heat, and the right catalyst to do so. Without going into detail, it would be Fritz Harber who finally succeeded where others had failed.
Okay, so my boy came in here doing some good. My boy came in to feed the world. Okay, all right, okay.
Correct calculation.
And right now, it's just Harber. We're not even talking about Bosch. I don't know if Bosch is going to pop up in here. I think it is when it comes to the chemical warfare part. Maybe that's when they unionized. I don't know, but we're going to see. But he came in good from what I'm hearing. He came in on the
Calculations, and by adding an osmium catalyst, he achieved the desired gaseous reaction and brought about the equilibrium constant. Eureka! There was ammonia. In cooperation with Haber-Bosch, who'd go on to replace the osmium with an iron catalyst and the industrial capacities of BASF, synthetic ammonia would soon be in full production. What is known as the
Okay, so boom. Now we're at the alliance that Sabaton was speaking of in the song. They came together, made the synthetic ammonia. Now we on the roll.
Haber-Bosch process would literally change life on Earth, as it made today's population numbers possible. So billions of people can thank Fritz Harber. Even at the time, his discovery elevated Harber to the top of the pops in Germany and beyond. And in 1911, as a group of prominent scientists from the Prussian Academy were thinking of creating an institute for the elite of Germany's intellectuals, it was Harber.
There goes that Prussian again. Hold on. Prussia. Damn. Have I not heard? I done had this channel for what? A year? Going on 2 years, I think. Have I heard of Prussia? Prussia was a historic, powerful kingdom in Central Europe that dominated the formation of the modern German state. Prussia comes from Old Prussians, a non-Germanic Baltic people who lived along southern eastern coast of Baltic. Okay, all right.
We're thinking of creating an institute for the elite of Germany's intellectuals. It was Haber who was proposed as one of its directors. As the head of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physical Chemistry and Electrochemistry, Haber would have the first heyday of his career, and science in Germany thrived like it never had before. Like all good things, though, the era of scientific prosperity came to an end, but quickly. The outbreak of the Great War not only put an end to nearly all research that was not vital to the war effort, but it also shattered the previously well-knit international academic community. What was once for the sake of all mankind, leading their research according to principles of the République des Lettres, was now stifled by the demands of warring nations. And scientists were drafted into the chemists' war to build the deadliest weapons of their time. Fritz Harber's research into ammonia was almost immediately of importance for the German war machine. The Kaiser and his generals had planned for a very short war, and German explosives and the propellant industry relied on saltpeter nitrate imports from Chile, which was now blocked off. That problem was overcome by Haber, who was now hailed for creating gunpowder from the air. But this was only the beginning of his involvement in the war. In the early morning hours of April 22nd, 1915, a greenish-yellow fog, up to 2 meters high, crept towards the Allied lines. It was driven by the wind, and those who smelt it described its sweetish, chloric smell, which was also irritating like pepper. But those who did so were also soon seen coughing, spitting, and retching. Caught in the fog, men clutched their throats, their eyes red with pain, stumbling around in terror. Many simply collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. The Germans had unleashed 160 tons of Haber's newest invention, chlorine gas. As a weapon, the gas attacked the mucous membranes and the wet tissues of lungs, eyes, and throat. This was the advent of modern chemical warfare. No one was quite aware of what...
Okay, so right now, we're back on Harber. We're not on Bosch. Bosch basically came in for a quick moment, helped them with the ammonia, with the synthetic ammonia, and then kind of scooted on. But because of what he helped create led to this. Is that what I'm getting? Let me know.
Kind of Pandora's box had been opened. For Fritz Harber personally, the day was both triumph and tragedy. The German military called Harber a national hero and symbolically promoted him to Hauptmann. His marriage, however, was reaching its darkest point. Like her husband, Clara Haber aspired to leave her mark on the scientific world. She was even the first woman to get a doctorate in chemistry at the University of Breslau.
Wow, so when she made the quote, perversion of science, what was the quote in the song? Oh, I forgot. So she knows firsthand, because she's a chemist too, so she knows, like, this ain't right. She's not just some housewife sitting at home, thinks she knows what's going on with her husband. No, she's like, no, I know what the fuck going on with you, dog. You obsessed with this shit. I don't know what you got going on.
With her thesis on the solubility of heavy metal salts. Heavy metal. Yet, unlike her husband, this did not open the doors of the academic world to her. Although her colleagues were generally supportive, this was not a time when women often found employment in fields like physics or chemistry. Clara worked as a freelancer, but was frustrated over her expected role as a housewife, mother, and hostess to the prominent guests of her husband. Tired and depressed by an unfulfilled life and a dysfunctional marriage, Clara took her own life. On the day when Fritz Harber was hailed a hero by the press, she was found dead by their 13-year-old son. Harber's thoughts about her death remain unknown, and contrary to a lot of public opinion, there is no evidence that Clara's suicide was caused by her husband's involvement in chemical warfare. Either way, Haber left for the Eastern Front the next day to instruct German pioneers on how to deploy.
He left. Anyways, he left for the German front the next day. Oh yeah, buddy only care about that work. He only care about that work.
Left for the Eastern Front the next day to instruct German pioneers on how to deploy his new weapon. Gas.
Okay, so he did want to create the weapons as well. He wanted to do good and he wanted to do bad, but he's convinced himself that he's not doing bad. He's doing for country. So if you're doing for country, how can it be bad? It doesn't matter what it is. If it's for country, it can't be bad, because that's how war works, right, guys? All right, now, let me know.
Would become one of the most feared weapons of the whole Great War. But although many of Haber's colleagues spoke out against its introduction, calling it a perversion of science and fundamentally abhorrent, it was not universally condemned. In fact, far from it. The Entente was quick to retaliate, of course, turning gas warfare against German soldiers as well. Haber argued that he wanted to primarily break the psychological will of Germany's enemies, much like with the frightening effect of a flamethrower or a bayonet charge. Once the stalemate on the fronts was broken, it would save so many others from the machine guns and artillery shells of a prolonged war. Until the end of the war, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute would continue to produce other chemical agents, most notably phosgene gas and ypirite, also known as mustard gas. Haber introduced the concept of Buntschießen, where different kinds of gas shells were deployed in an effort to act as mask breakers, right? Like one kind of gas would penetrate the filters, forcing the affected soldier to take off his mask, only to then be hit by an asphyxiating gas shell the next moment. Yet, poison gas ultimately did not shorten the war. Instead, it's estimated that by the war's end, around 1.3 million soldiers were wounded by the effects of chemical weapons, many blinded or with lungs destroyed, many of them killed by asphyxiation or internal bleeding. The armistice saw the Entente publish a list of around 900 alleged war criminals they wanted to bring to trial. Harber, as the father of chemical warfare, was among the most wanted. The Hauptmann quickly got out of his uniform and fled to Switzerland. But the charges against him were soon dropped, and he returned to his institute in Berlin. In 1920, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for his ammonia synthesis. At the ceremony, no one mentioned his involvement in trying to keep the German war machine afloat, nor how his inventions gave birth to modern gas warfare. Many in Europe's scientific community simply wanted to return to how it was before the war. Haber never showed any signs of remorse. Instead, he turned his full attention.
They're like lawyers. I'm telling you, they're like lawyers. They get to navigate in this space where there is no right or wrong. Both exist, and I'm allowed to play both sides. And nobody's going to say anything. Okay? So shut the fuck up and let me work both sides. How does that, like, bruh, the mindset is crazy.
To the prosperity of his institute. Under the great Haber, it would attract many world-class scientists and promote new ways of scientific thinking, from embryonic quantum mechanics to gas kinetic studies to the transfer of energy between atoms. There were many branches of science at work here. One somewhat funny project called Gold from Seawater was aimed at combating the Republic's growing debt by extracting gold from the oceans. Okay, although based on a huge miscalculation and soon abandoned, the idea showed how open-minded the Institute was to unconventional ideas. Supported by prominent sponsors from the industry, Haber would enjoy another heyday, which also came to its end. When the Nazis rose to power in 1933, they soon extended their clutches to Germany's scientific world. Although Fritz Harber had converted to Protestantism when he was 25, he was still a persona non grata to the new state. Hitler personally hated the Jew Haber, who openly supported the democratic principles of the Republic. Yet, Haber was too well established to be attacked publicly. Instead, they pressured him with new laws, demanding the Institute fire all scientists of Jewish ancestry. Haber, who believed that science and academia stood above such differences, could not accept this, and instead put in his own resignation letter. Then he was basically banished from the fatherland he had worked tirelessly to save and improve. At first he went to Cambridge University, then toyed with the idea of moving to Palestine. But he could not bring himself to fully break with his German identity. Haber died in Switzerland on January 29, 1934, from a heart attack. To this day, Fritz Haber's legacy remains controversial, at least historically. From a purely scientific viewpoint, his accomplishments in the world of chemistry were indisputably the works of one of the greatest. The benefits of the Haber-Bosch process are enjoyed every day around the globe. But the legacy of the horrors of gas warfare remains a dark shadow over Haber's and mankind's history.
Father.
I guess if the chemical, man, but damn, that's crazy, because what you created is it's still feeding the planet, right? It's still helping the planet. And the chemicals you created for warfare, even though I'm almost certain chemical warfare is not allowed now, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't weaponized and isn't being weaponized still to this day. There's so many things out there. Ugh. It's crazy.
What's coming next from your inventions? We wonder where does it end?
Damn, well, I guess in his case, damn, y'all. Come on. Oh, shit. Where are we at morally on this, guys? You know what? I'm not nowhere morally on, because it's one thing if what he created saved the plants, and that same exact thing. Well, damn, it kind of was. Damn. Where are we at on this, y'all? Did he do more good than bad? Talk to me. Because, of course, we don't know the extent of the bad he's done. We only know what has been told to us. We don't know what they've been doing with his toxic chemical equations and all of that shit. Where do y'all stand on this? Has my boy, has he done more good or has he done more bad?
Okay, Per, this song is not on any of the albums. Go.
All right, it's actually like this. So we know that you like a lot of songs from the Great War, and we did as well. And it's a massive,
Huge undertaking.
Yes.
Huge concept.
a huge concept, and there is a lot to sing about.
Yeah.
We knew already when we had finished the Great War that we needed to cover the Christmas truce. But eventually, because of the pandemic, that led to the entire war to end all wars. But we were still not ready with the pandemic, so we still had time on our hands. We were not touring, and we actually recorded more songs.
Yeah.
And then we felt these belong in the same universe. This also belongs in World War I, and it will extend throughout the entire tour with new releases that's connecting to the album tours.
Yeah, so the album,
That's
the album's
dope.
been out for a while. The second Great War album, War to End All Wars, and so this is extending the theme even further.
Yes. So we recorded 3 more singles and EPs. Yeah, well, singles. And they're gonna be bundled into EPs, connecting them. So the first one that's come out, this one, Father.
Father.
It's obviously about inventions in war. And when you think about that, the first one, the first EP is connected to inventions during the Great War. So there we have the Attack of the Dead Man comes in there, of course, and it also fits in with future warfare, about the invention of tanks.
And you know something interesting is
You see that? And they go into the mind and the idea of why we're doing this and why we just did. I love it, man. I love it. And they get to execute it. They get to come up with this shit, and they get to say, we have a big enough fan base that we think we can pull this shit off. Yeah, the album done, but we can just just add more while we're on tour at that. We're just gonna give these motherfucking new songs while we're on tour. Ah, man, that's hard. That's hard.
Warfare, about the invention of tanks.
And something interesting that I talked about in the Great War, the incredible technology leaps during the Great War, not just poison gas and stuff, or even tanks, but in many ways, the world went from 1870 to 1940 in 4 years. You had mobile X-ray machines, all right, which, how many lives did that save?
Yep.
You had the femur splint, which if you had a broken femur, your thigh bone, in 1914, you had a 90% chance of dying and a 10% chance of surviving. By 1918, it was a 90% chance of surviving and a 10% chance of dying. No, but it's interesting that this is this is where you start with your, let's say, extended play of that.
And it's gonna go on, and in the next, let's say, year, we're gonna release a couple of more.
Okay.
So
which I don't know what those are, by the way. I don't know what those are yet.
they are still secret for most people. Let's say we have a song about a hero.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna call that EP Heroes of the Great War.
Okay,
and
cool.
you can guess a couple of them maybe who's gonna be on that.
I think there's a whole bunch of heroes of the Great War.
Yeah. And some of our previous songs that's gonna fit into that as well.
Okay, so it's really tying the whole knot.
It's tying up, and it's also to help a lot of people who missed a lot of songs
Yeah.
to rediscover them, to have a chance. I mean,
To go back, so
because
like
we're
Carton
gonna,
de Viart and
yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly
Sure,
like
sure.
that. So
Okay.
we're gonna reactivate some of the songs,
Yeah.
release new content related to some of the songs,
Okay.
and focus a little bit more on them around the release of the EPs.
But back to Father, the song, but not really the song, more the name. I mean, it's a fairly common-ish name for a song and stuff. I mean, you're not the first band that's ever had a song called Father.
That is true. we sing Father Vår in Carolina's
Of course,
bön.
that's true. That is true. And we sing Our Father, who art in heaven.
But maybe you had some other song in mind.
You know me too well, Per. You know me too well. But I was thinking about Glenn Danzig.
That's Mother.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I'm thinking Father and Mother. You see what I mean?
Ah, okay.
And Pink Floyd, Mother from Dark Side of the Moon stuff. But you've got so you've got the two mothers. You've got Father and you've got Father Vor, and you've got Papa Don't Preach by Madonna stuff. But wait, okay, can I hijack this episode for just a second?
Okay.
Do you mind? I'm just gonna hijack this for a second. Glenn Danzig before Sam Hain and Danzig, they had the Misfits. And when I was in my early teens in Houston, Texas, I was really into punk and new wave. But there was the only radio channel you can get it on was local Rice Radio, and I couldn't even pick that up at night. Lived too far away from the university. The record store. It was like a 20-minute bicycle ride from my house, Hastings Records, which was huge. It was biggest part of this compound, and they had one little rack with 3 rows that said punk and new wave, with 3 rows of records. And I would save up my money, because it was like $7.99 to buy. It was a lot of money for a kid then, like if you're 12 or 13 years old. And I would buy a record based on what the record cover looked like. And
that's crazy. I wonder how old Indy is. I wonder how old he is. I wonder how much older he is than me, because at 12, 13, we was working. I was babysitting at 12, and then 13, I got a job. So I had the money. We was buying all our CDs. We was going to Media Play. We were going to buy them shits. Hi-Fi buys and Best Buy. Like, we was going.
I would buy a record based on what the record cover looked like. And that's when I got Misfits Walk Among Us, because Misfits looked so cool on Misfits Walk Among Us that I bought that, which is still one of my favorite albums today ever, which I still think is the best thing Glenn Danzig ever did. No offense to anybody who likes any of his later music and stuff, because I liked him better as a punk. I did.
Okay, I thought that you're gonna say that's where I found Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, no. This was before Papa. This was before Madonna. Madonna was still the drummer in the Breakfast Club then. By the way, there's your trivia for today. Before Madonna became Madonna, she played drums. She was a drummer. She played drums in a band called the Breakfast Club before Madonna became so if somebody says, well, what instrument does Madonna play? You can go, drums.
And now, if we can hijack back it.
Yeah, you can hijack it back. Sorry, to Fritz Harber.
To Fritz Harber.
Yeah.
And
did Indy do all that to clear up the father thing? Because he didn't, it wasn't that many songs. It wasn't any songs called Father. Like, what just happened, Indy? I love the story, though. Shit.
We haven't mentioned him yet today.
No, we haven't mentioned him. Does he need a mention? I mean, how do you feel? Like, is it controversial for you to talk about it?
The thing is, okay, throughout history, there have been people that are complete, absolute, amoral, not even unmoral, amoral, with no moral compass. People who have done great for humanity.
Amoral. I didn't know that's what it was called. Amoral. That's what lawyers and scientists are. Amoral.
I think Fritz Harber is one of those. The fact that there's no remorse for creating weapons that murdered in a horrible way. Being shot in the head, you die. Poison gas, you can have another 60 years with half a lung and with your eyes burned out and stuff like that. But you cannot deny that synthetic ammonia is one of the great discoveries of the 20th century.
Yeah,
I mean, he absolutely deserved, in pure scientific terms, he deserved the Nobel Prize for that. How do I reconcile that? I have a hard time reconciling that. I think I would not have liked to hang out with Fritz Harber. What do you say?
If we travel back in time, we're gonna avoid him. But we're probably not gonna travel back in time to meet Fritz Harber.
Probably.
We're probably gonna look ahead for new episodes of Sabaton History Channel in the future.
In the future, we can't wait to see you guys there. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to keep checking your internet for future episodes of Sabaton History.
boy look diabolical. What gang sign is being thrown at the right lower corner of his optical? The left lower corner of his optical, right when he's wearing it. What is that?
Thanks for watching.
Spooky.
Click that little bell so that you get updates when we release new episodes. And thank you for subscribing.
I learned what I need to learn. Amoral. They're amoral. Man, that's crazy. My boy wanted to help the world, and he wanted to kill the world. Shit. Man. That's nuts. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Catch y'all on the next one. I'm out, y'all. Peace.